Real esoteric spirituality without all of the fluff, without all of the nonsense. This is the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. Click subscribe and then hit the little bell button so that you can be notified whenever I've uploaded a video or when I'm doing the live Q&A videos. Good evening, Thunder Wizards. Hopefully everything's working out. Last night the microphone wasn't very loud. I restarted everything, so hopefully you can hear me. And no idea if people are even going to show up today. So we're going to go further into just some discussion about the lunar eclipse that we've got coming tomorrow and what this means. So I thought I would look a little more deeply into what exactly this means. So what I'm going to be specifically focusing on is what we're going to be experiencing, which is going to be as though we're going to be visited by your whichever trickster deity you want to worship. For me, Loki is the trickster deity. We could talk about Rahu as well, because it is the north node of the moon that is causing the full eclipse tomorrow night. But I want to talk about this in terms of, how can you best work with a trickster deity? So we're going to be talking about that. So the eclipse is going to happen in the sign of Cancer, and the moon is going to be eclipsed in the sign of Cancer, specifically in the nakshatra called Pushya. Pushya is the lunar mansion in the Vedic tradition, and this is a very auspicious nakshatra. So by itself, Pushya is actually lorded over by Jupiter. So the moon and Jupiter have a very strong and powerful connection. So in other words, in Jupiter's favorite place to be is in Cancer, wants the light of the moon on it. But the moon also responds very positively to Jupiter. So we need to be looking at what this is going to mean. So first off, moon is going to be in its own sign of Cancer, so it's going to be very extremely empowered. But it's going to be in the nakshatra of Pushya. So Pushya has to do with deep nurturing and deep teaching. So when we think about Jupiter and the moon represent wisdom that goes beyond words, deeper than words. So as you know, we have two kinds of minds. We have the intellect and we have the meditative mind. In the West, the majority of the time when people talk about the mind, they're talking about the intellect and or the brain. And that is not what we are talking about. In ancient times, when we talked about the mind, we didn't talk about that. We talked about the ability to reflect the power of infinity. And so the mind had to do with more of a meditative, more of a shamanic frame of being. So when the moon gets into, number one, its own sign, but when it gets into the sign of Pushya, and the power of the priest starts to, it's like, here's Cancer, the sign of Cancer. Here's the moon sitting in that sign, and then underneath it is Pushya. So we've got these three levels, and it creates a, if I had three hands, I could just show you. So the moon is right here, and it's getting its own light from itself, from its own sign, and then underneath it, it's getting illuminated from within with the power of Jupiter. So it's as if the priest, the more than the priest, it's the spiritual master who goes so deep in their understanding that they really don't have words for it. So there are certain teachers that have such wisdom and such depth and such power that all you have to do is just simply be in their presence. They don't have to say anything. They don't have to try and put anything into words. Just being in their presence has such a powerful effect on you that it brings you into your own Jupiter. And when it comes to true, real true spiritual understanding, there are no words for it. So teachers like myself who do a lot of talking, what we're really doing is we're trying to express with words that which is inexpressible, that is beyond conscious comprehension. It goes much deeper than that. So imagine that. Imagine the moon sitting in that. So the moon, again, is the mind, the reflective mind, the ability to use your ability to reflect on the spirit about things that you can't put any words into. This is why meditation is so important. This is why meditation is so important when dealing with life and with issues. Sometimes you just can't sit and figure things out. And one of the best ways to work through those kinds of situations is to face the northwest and ask for the ascended masters for guidance. And what they will give you is they will give you distance, because the moon sits above the earth. And so when the moon is full and in its happy place, it is receiving light directly from the sun, which is the soul, and it is able to shine that, to take that very intense light from the soul and reflect it back in a very healing way. Which is why, by the way, the moon is incredibly healing. Just being out under the moon is a very healing thing. But the moon, representing the meditative mind, is sitting above the earth. And it acts as a conduit for, if the earth represents you, then the moon represents the meditative mind, which gets some distance, sits above the earth, and allows you to look from a greater perspective on things. That's why meditation is so important, especially meditation that involves energy work. So I'm a big fan of any kind of meditation. Some of us can't do your typical Zen type of meditation. The majority of people, when they talk about meditation, they automatically go into this stereotype of meditation, which is being empty and not having any thoughts. And that is not, for me personally, that is not the most powerful way to meditate. There's a lot of people that can do that. I've had, a couple of students that can do that. That's not something that I do very easily. For me, I need energy, and specifically not fiery energy. I need lunar energy. I need the soft, nurturing life force energy that comes from the moon. So this is why I'm such a big proponent of Qigong, because this is the kind of energy that a lot of Qigong has. And a lot of the stuff that I teach, like Thor's hammer and celestial Qigong, this is going to have a lot of lunar, nourishing energy. So let's talk about the energy associated with the moon. The moon is associated with the soma, the mead of immortality, the nectar of immortality. Nectar is sweet, right? It comes from flowers. It's very sweet. So the kind of energy that comes from the moon has that very sweet sort of property. It's very nourishing, like honey. Honey is incredibly nourishing. It's, unlike processed sugar, honey is actually very good for you. And I remember reading about a crock full of honey that was found in one of the Egyptian tombs, 4,000 years old or something. And the honey was perfectly preserved. It was exactly the same. So it really does represent immortality. And it's got all kinds of, besides, all kinds of nutrients and enzymes, it serves as an antibacterial and antiviral. So it's incredibly healthy. This is what we're talking about when we talk about the nurturing energy that comes from the moon. And when we're talking about the nurturing energy that comes from those type of Qigong practices, we are talking about this kind of energy. So this kind of energy, what it does, when you do that kind of meditation, it will immediately give you some distance over your issue. This is why mantra is so important. For me, anyway, for me to just sit and try and empty my mind, it's going to take me a heck of a long time to do that. And I might not be able to do it. But if I do, especially moon mantras or Jupiter mantras or mantras connected to the lightning god, whether that be Indra or Thor or whomever, whenever I focus on that, that does in fact give me the distance that I'm looking for. It gives me this sense of everything's okay. And that comes from being nurtured. So if you're one of those people that's constantly feeling like things aren't okay and I need this, and one of the things that might help you would be to get some nectar from the moon. Allow the moon to calm that part of your mind, because the moon also represents emotions. So let's talk about emotions for a second, because this eclipse is going to have a strong impact on us emotionally. So when Rahu comes over the moon in Pushya, then what it's doing is it's doing a couple of things. Your experiences on the surface level is that you're being blocked from your emotional stability. And so your emotions start to flip out. And so whatever your issues are, they may come to the surface. And you may find yourself being emotionally stimulated, emotionally erratic. You may find yourself panicking. You may find yourself feeling lonely, scared, sad, depressed. Whatever issues you have with your mind, your moon, whatever issues you already have, whatever weaknesses you already have about yourself, they may get stimulated. And, for me, like yesterday was I really felt it yesterday. I'm feeling much stronger today. But yesterday and last night, I was really feeling it. I mean, I just, I was really feeling disconnected from my moon. And my mind felt really erratic and crazy. And I think part of the reason for that is got some big changes coming, and I started taking some big action towards it. The kind of action that what you take, you can't take it back. And if you've been watching my channel, I've been uploading all day. I've been uploading videos all day, creating a whole new course having to do with manifestation. And that's a lot of action. So for those of you who follow me, what I'm teaching is that it's not about how you feel. It's about the actions that you take. And so yesterday and today was me living up to my own teaching, which was I just wanted to crawl underneath a rock somewhere yesterday and just hide and talk myself out of, there's this big move that I'm making, and talk myself out of these new projects that I'm going to be undertaking. That's what I wanted to do all day yesterday. But I didn't. I started moving towards this and I finished up in case you're interested, I finished up the 5 Rules to Master the Matrix training course. I finished that up, did that all day yesterday. And I think what happened is for those of you, I'm sharing with you as I always do. I'm sharing with you what happens with me so that you can see from my example, that it really isn't about how you feel. It's about what you do. And so yesterday I did all that. I finished that, and then I put it out there. I officially put it out there. and my resistance kicked in, and my head started beating the crap out of me and telling me what a piece of crap I was and all that kind of garbage. You know, I've been on this rodeo before, so I understand what's going on, but that doesn't make it any easier. And so today I continued with that. And as you can see, I started making some changes. I made some changes to the Patreon site. In case you're not familiar, please go to thunderwizard.com, and the welcome video there, I talk about the changes, and you can see the changes that I'm putting in there. And it's time for a change on that. The Patreon site, there has been less and less interaction with the videos that I've been uploading. So I've been uploading videos, but there have been less and less people watching them. So we still got people who are subscribing, but they haven't been watching any of the new videos. So it's time to shake things up and to bring in some new blood. So I'm moving into some different directions, and I'm going to start a big ad campaign on YouTube to start driving people to that site and to the channel. And so these are all actions that I can't take back. You know, once I put it out there, I can't take it back. And so today I'm feeling some positivity from that. I'm feeling seeing some of the rewards. So I'm sharing all this with you because this is what is going to be coming down the pike tomorrow. When we have this eclipse, what you can be thinking about is getting rid of old emotional blocks, old unconscious blocks to your success, to intending your reality. And so one of the ways that we can make use of these periods, like yesterday, what I became aware of, you know, there was some, I won't get into it, but there were some actions I wanted to take in order to divert myself from what I was experiencing. But I chose not to do that, and instead I chose to listen to what was going on with me. And for some reason, there's something really, at least yesterday, the thought of not being able to come back to the States and have a home to come to. Now, you know, why that's weird for me, I don't know, because I'm planning on, you know, living out of my suitcase and flying to Australia and just bouncing around from, you know, different Airbnbs along the coast and just surfing up and down the coast there and spending time there and doing the same thing in New Zealand. Now, the thought of not having a permanent home there for months at a time, that doesn't bother me. It's kind of exciting, actually. But the thought of coming back to the States and getting off a plane and not having a home to come to was really frightening to me. I mean, it was so frightening, I considered just not doing that. And I said, wait a minute, there's no difference. It's going to be exactly the same. You know, you're going to have to do the exact same thing here that you do there. You could get off the plane, you know, stay in a hotel or stay in an Airbnb, and until you know, decide where you want to go. And you're going to have to rent a car and all that kind of stuff, because I'm also giving up my car that I'm leasing. For some reason, being in another country and doing that doesn't bother me. Coming back home and not having all those things, really frightening for me. So, you know, maybe you can relate to why I feel that way, but if we look at it objectively, it doesn't make any sense. This is another great tool, by the way. One of the great tools that you can have when you are taking action towards creating what you want out of your life. And you will run into your own resistance, your own form of that. Your own illogical, irrational fears are going to jump up in front of you and try and talk you out of doing that. And one of the most powerful techniques when I become aware, first, sometimes I may not know what's going on. I may just feel really panicky about something. And I'll stop and I'll ask myself, what is it that I'm feeling? And then, like I did yesterday, I became aware of the fear that popped up. So when that happens for you, do that, try that. You know, maybe if you can't figure out just by sitting there, what am I feeling, then go and do a meditation. Sit face the northwest. Go do some qigong. Go do the Thor's hammer or a celestial qigong. Get yourself in the spot of the objective mind of the moon, and ask yourself, what is it that I'm feeling? And then allow yourself to see what the feelings are. And if they're irrational like that, you can stop and go, All right, let's see. Here's my fear. Now let's put it next to objective reality. And if you can say, that doesn't jive with what's really going on in my life, then you know you're dealing with unconscious resistance, resistance towards your own success. And so it's an opportunity for you to become aware of that and perhaps even to release that. These are all things that you can be focusing on tomorrow night, as we head into the lunar eclipse. Okay, so those are just some thoughts about that. If you have questions, you can ask. I'll be happy to answer them. So let's take a look and see. Stephen Purdy asks, could the moon be the link to our collective thoughts and emotions becoming a psychic culture? Well, there's some assumptions in there. But first off, could the moon be the link to our collective thoughts? Yes. And emotions. Could it be the link to our collective thoughts and emotions? It can be a link to that, absolutely. And becoming a psychic culture, I'm not sure what you mean by that. That's a linked question that has an assumption underneath it. It sounds like, first off, I'm not quite sure what you mean, but if I read that, it sounds like you assume that the moon is trying to change us into a psychic culture. That's your projection on that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying that you've got an assumption that you're projecting through in that question, which makes me want to go further and ask you, why is that appealing to you? Because here's something about the moon. The moon is definitely something that connects. It connects us. So it is through that part of our mind, the meditative mind, that we are able to connect to the ascended masters. We're able to connect to ourselves. We are able to connect to others. Hello, Thunder Wizards. So I'm here to share with you some exciting changes that are being implemented on the thunderwizard.com Patreon subscription page. So, as you know, up until now, the subscription page has been for giving people access to the Master Shamanism course. Now I'm going to add another option within the thunderwizard.com Patreon page. You can either stay at the $25 level and subscribe and continue to learn the Mastery Shamanism course, or you can sign up for the Mastery of Manifestation, the Manifestation Mastery course. Now, if you want to focus on both, then sign up for the Manifestation Mastery course. That will still give you access to all of the shamanism, Master Shamanism courses, as well as this new course in Mastery of Manifestation. If you want to work with me one-on-one, then continue to subscribe at the higher levels. Basically, anybody at the Manifestation Mastery course or above will have access to all of the videos. If you only want to focus on the Mastery of Shamanism, then you can stay at the $25 level. But this is a new exciting thing. I've been having a lot of people coming to me and asking me to teach a course on the in-depth aspects of manifestation, the law of attraction, the law of manifestation, and understanding how to combine that with your soul desire. So twice a week I will be making videos on this course, Mastering Manifestation, and the course for the Mastery of Shamanism will continue as it was. So I just want to give you those two options and let you know that's there. If you want to check it out, go to thunderwizard.com and scroll on the right and you'll see the subscription options available to you. All right, keep your eyes peeled because there's going to be a lot more videos coming on to the free channel as well as to the Patreon channel. So it's an exciting time. Talk to you soon. But the moon, as I talked about last night, the moon is also the repository of all of the memories of our own past lives, but it is also the repository of all of the memories of the ancestors. So if you want to understand ancestral teaching, you have to have access to your meditative mind. You have to have access to the moon. The moon is where all of that is stored. That's why when in some of the Vedic literature it says that when we die, we go to the moon. Now you can take that literally. A lot of people do. They think, oh, when you die, the soul goes to the moon. But my personal take is that it's trying to say that what happens is that when your soul dies, it goes back and remembers. It connects to that repository of spiritual history for itself and for the human race, for the ancestors. You know, the moon is very important for that. So that's my response to that question of yours. Stephen Purdy, answer. Yes, you guessed my thought behind it. I was seeded that idea from a Bashar video. That the moon is the link to us becoming a psychic culture. Yeah, I mean, I can't say that that's wrong. But what I hear underneath that, which I relate to, is that you have a desire. There's your personal desire to connect with others on a psychic level. And so you're projecting onto this question about the moon, and this is why whatever Bashar said struck you, is because you have that within you. Now, when it comes to astrology, one of the things you want to look for is where the moon is. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do with the moon. But for instance, in my chart, my Atma Karaka, which is the planet that has the highest number of degrees in my chart, that planet for me tells me what my main psychic issue is throughout my life. So if you ever had a reading from me and I tell you what your karmic issue is based on your Atma Karaka, you know what I'm talking about. So when it comes to the moon, if somebody has the moon as their Atma Karaka, then their karmic issue is seeking to connect to the whole world as their family. And whenever somebody has the moon as their Atma Karaka, usually there's either some disconnection to their nuclear family, you know, their mom and their dad, their sister and their brother, and or they find themselves seeking to find the unity in everybody on the planet. This is, of course, what I do. I mean, you saw the video that I posted not too long ago about racism, and I've got some really strong opinions about that. And that's because part of the reason is because based on my astrology, I am wired to see myself in all cultures and to see the connection between all cultures and all religions and all races. And in fact, that's why I really hammer away that if you really want to understand your own ancestors, you're going to end up back to the ancestors of all humans. And to say that you're interested in your own ancestry and then stop, a few thousand years in the past and just stop there, you're really at cross purposes with yourself. You're really not wanting to connect with the ancestors. You're wanting to separate yourself and build yourself up based on some very specific idea of who you think you are. That's like when the people who want to go off on, the white race this and the Europeans that and all that, and I say, at what point did they become white? Tell me the day that happened. Did they just sprout out of the ground that way? When did they become Europeans? They just sprout up out of the ground out of Europe? No, they came from somewhere. Yeah, I'm not saying that there isn't, that over time things influence and change people and make them very specific and unique. I'm not trying to take the uniqueness away from anybody. But, if you're thinking logically, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. And if you're unwilling to do that, it means that you're not really wanting to know your ancestral roots. You're wanting to separate yourself probably from some insecurity within you. And that's, why I point that out. It pisses a lot of people off and all that other stuff, but what are you going to do? All right, so I babbled on for that long enough. Let's see if there's any more questions here. Susie Sawyer question. Did you know that the Troth lifted the ban on hailing Loki? and will do primetime bloats for him for the next 10 years. I did not know that. I don't follow the Troth at all. I don't follow heathenism at all. Um, in fact, I was I don't know how long ago this is. I don't know if this is still true, but the guy, I forget his name, the guy who was, when I first started looking into heathenism, the guy who was, wrote all the books on the runes and all that, Stephen Flowers, I forget his heathen name. But I was very disappointed when I heard that he had allied himself with the other guy, the racialist guy. And he started following this very, exclusive white only path. I was very disappointed to see that because he was so big going in the other direction when it was the Troth and being inclusive and, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't even know that they had a ban. I mean, fucking religion, man. They're going to put a ban on which God you want to worship. I mean, so ridiculous. Well, I'm happy to hear that they lifted the ban on it, because look, when it comes to Loki, since we're talking about Loki, the gods would not have any of their magical items if it weren't for him. Odin wouldn't have his horse, Thor wouldn't have his hammer. We could go on the line. Freyja wouldn't have the Brisingamen. Loki is the one responsible for the gods having their magical items. So how can you not see that? I mean, I understand on the surface people respond to, his trickster nature, but it just shows for me, what I see is just tremendous insecurity and immaturity on that. But yeah, I'm happy to hear that. Good for them. And so they're going to do bloats for him for the next 10 years. What does that mean for the next 10 years? I don't. Why just limit it to 10 years? Why not just keep doing it? Let's talk about Loki. Now, I can't speak directly for him, and he's definitely somebody I would not. I can only tell you, and I only dare to tell you my own personal thoughts and experience. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to Loki. Because I don't know how he wants to work with you. You have to figure that out. But for me, Loki made it very clear in the beginning that if I wanted to work with him, like, have a ceremony or do something, he didn't want anything special. Maybe bring some kind of beverage, representing the mead, and just talk to him, and just not hide anything. And if there's one person that you can confess everything to, it's Loki. And Loki won't judge you for that. Loki gets, from what I read in the mythology and my experience of him, Loki gets furious with people and with the gods when they don't appreciate the sanctity of everything. I've said before that Loki is the best friend of human beings, that he loves people more than any of the other gods, except perhaps Hela. There's no other being in the universe that actually cares about your well-being more than Loki. Because again, Loki is the one who brings Ragnarok. And what is the end result of Ragnarok? Ragnarok is what brings the destruction of this world, this universe, and creates a new one. And all of the gods, I think all of the gods, all or most of the gods die in the process. And we die. We go through death as well. And it's not an ending. It's bringing an evolution. The next evolution of the next universe will come as a result of Loki. Loki leads the army. And only somebody who really cares about you is willing to give you the bitter medicine. And especially Loki and Hela. Those two, I mean, I'm not limiting it just to them, but those two really will want to come and bring you the bitter medicine. And it's okay with them if you don't want to hear it. they don't, bear in mind, Loki doesn't take any pleasure in causing people pain or harm. But he doesn't care. I mean, if that's hurtful to you, that's bad. But if you get what you need, and if it's going to be painful for you, he's not afraid to show it to you. You know. So my experience of working with Loki is that I have to come to him not only humble, but not prostrating myself. Because that's false humility. That's coming from the ego of look at how humble and spiritual I am. You don't prostrate yourself in front of him, but you definitely don't want to bring any hidden anything. You don't want to pretend to be something that you're not. So you should be a little afraid when you go talk to him because he's going to see right through your bullshit, and he wants to connect with the true you, the true essence of who you are. And he also, from my perspective, whenever I try and connect with him, I'm always thinking of the flighting of Loki, that myth, where he was treated as an outsider where all the gods were together, and he comes to Odin and he says, "You remember, Odin, that we took a blood oath, and that you said you would never drink mead without me." And he was, so he understands what it's like to feel discarded, to feel rejected, to feel like an outcast. And so I always try and remember that. And that's why, if I'm going to sit down with Loki, I'm going to bring some kind of a beverage which represents the mead, and I'm going to have mine and he's going to have his. And, I think about it and I get very emotional when I think about it. And then I just release whatever I need to share. I confess, if there's such a thing as confession, if you want to confess your sins, he's the guy to go to. And it's, again, he never judges. So, he's just an amazing and wonderful individual. And it's, it would be easy for me to get bent out of shape, as I kind of did when I heard that the Troth had banned. It's just so funny to me. They're going to ban people worshiping one of the gods. It's just, who do they think they are? Fucking religion, man. Who do you think you are? You can set these rules. The nine noble virtues. I have nothing against the nine noble virtues. They're wonderful things. But it just shows you, again, the misunderstanding of traditional ancestral religion versus modern religion. And when modern neo-heathens started creating Asatru and brought in the nine noble virtues, it's just really clear to me that they're trying to pretend to be a religion. And, Christianity has the 10 Commandments, and we have the nine noble virtues. And all of the idea of knowing what is and stating truths and what you can do and what you can't do, that was never part of our ancestral spiritual heritage. If anything, you went and, especially if there was another culture and another religion and they were worshiping whatever gods, you didn't go and try and impose your gods onto them. In fact, you see this a lot in Northern Europe during the Roman occupation. You see that the pantheon starts to expand, and you see Roman soldiers worshiping local deities and vice versa. You see local people worshiping Roman deities, and the Roman religion itself borrowed a lot from the Greeks, and the Etruscans. By the way, they took a lot of their sacred understandings from the Etruscans, which was a completely different culture and religion and all that kind of stuff. So there was an understanding. You go and you wanted to know, what is it that they do? What is it that they believe? Even if it's completely opposite from yours, and you respect it, and you understand somebody according, well, that's their way. That's who they are. Like that old it's attributed to Native Americans. I have no idea if it is or not, but walk a mile in another man's moccasins. You have to know what you don't know what that person is like. I don't know what your way is. You know what your way is. So Loki and Rahu have the same, because they're the same essence, of course. Rahu represents breaking all of the rules. He represents an iconoclast. The negative aspect of Rahu represents a thief, con man, a criminal, somebody who's breaking the law. But on the positive side, Rahu represents being an iconoclast and breaking the rules, or not being bound by limitation that doesn't help you. Limitation is helpful for children. Children need rules, which is why the Old Testament has 10 commandments, because the Old Testament is designed to, number one, infantilize people, turn them into children, turn them into dependent children, and to discipline them. But little kids, you have to give them rules, otherwise they cause havoc to themselves and everybody else. So any religion that is based on rules, and again, the truth, I laugh that they have the gall to make a pronouncement that you can't worship this god, or it's just crazy. We could talk about a lot of people want to worship like the world serpent, that kind of stuff. I don't have a personal problem against that. Or they want to worship the giants. They don't. This is usually, my experience, people who go down that path, they call it Rokatru or whatever. The people who go down that path, in my experience, are people, if I talk to them, they're going to reveal to me that they've had a lot of authority problems. And this is kind of their rebellion. So again, it's kind of coming from a childish place. I'm okay with it. I don't think they understand, what the giants are or what the world serpent is. The world serpent is, or worshiping the Surt. That to me doesn't make any sense. Surt doesn't have that. Surt is a force. He's not a being. You never hear about Surt in the mythology in any other way other than this force that comes through and causes destruction. So to worship him, it doesn't make any sense. He's not a force that wants to connect with you. A lot of the giants don't want to connect with you. They're a force of nature. Listen up. You've been lied to about the nature of the Matrix. What if I told you that you could hack into the Matrix? I've done it, and I can teach you how to do it. Click below to watch the free video that I put on my YouTube channel a few years ago that has since gone viral. I discovered that the Matrix, like everything else in the universe, operates from certain rules. There are 5 rules that govern the Matrix. And then there is one secret technique that, to my knowledge, nobody else has figured out, that allows you to hack into the Matrix, understanding these 5 rules and using these 5 rules to control, manipulate, and change reality so that you can have exactly what you want out of life. Don't allow yourself to be deceived by the victim mentality that has been thrust upon you by everybody in the media and in modern society, in history, in religion. You have the power to hack into the Matrix, to control your life, and have the life of your dreams. Click below, watch the free video, and then learn how you can do what I've been doing for myself over the past few years. Same with the Norns. I think people who want to worship the Norns to try and affect their weird don't understand what the Norns are. The Norns actually obey you. They're just forces. They're forces of the universe, and they really obey you. Your experience is that they inflict upon you your destiny, but the truth is that they obey you. But giants function on the level of the unconscious mind. And so here's the thing about the unconscious mind. You are not consciously aware of all of your self-sabotage, all of whatever negative drives you have in your unconscious mind. You're not consciously aware of them, but you are responsible for them. Addiction is a good example. People who are addicted to drugs, for instance. Now, drug addiction we're talking about deeply unresolved unconscious issues. And people can consciously say, I don't want to take that drug, or I don't want to put that needle in me, or I don't want to drink that alcohol. They can consciously say that all they want, and they'll have no power to stop themselves. It's because everything is happening on the unconscious level. The choices are being made on the unconscious level. Now, they say, I can't help it, and they're telling the truth. But from the perspective of the universe, especially the gods, and there's a reason why Saturn is connected to the giants, is that aspect of truth, the deepest aspect of truth from the universe, holds you responsible for your unconscious decisions, your unconscious beliefs. This is why I talk about it so much, and which is why I work so hard to help you to become conscious of all your feelings. Because until you're able to get conscious of all of your feelings, you will never be able to see where you deliberately made all of these really irrational, self-destructive choices. And that's really what it is. But from the perspective of like the Norns, especially, they don't differentiate between your conscious and your unconscious mind. They see the decisions that you make on an unconscious level, and you will be repaid for those decisions and for those actions. Notice how I haven't said anything about feelings. It's not about feelings. Feelings are just reactions to thoughts and experiences. Feelings themselves don't hold any weight. There's nothing good or bad about them. They're just simply reactions to things. But when it comes to our unconscious blocks, self-sabotage, our patterns, there was at least one point, at some point you made a deliberate decision to adopt a belief, to take an action, something, and that created a pattern in your unconscious which you continue to play out, and the universe holds you responsible. So this is why I'm saying, for people who can't understand it, and I say you have to take full responsibility for your life, and they say, yeah, but you don't understand. This happened to me, and I was born in this family, and they did this, and that happened, and the weather, and it's not that I'm not understanding of all of that. It doesn't change the fact that at some point you made a deliberate decision. You took a deliberate action on an unconscious level, and you continue to pay the price for that. And until you can acknowledge that, you won't be able to change it. Okay, anyway, I don't know what launched me into that direction, but there I went. All right, so all right, looking for the Edred Thorson. Edred Thorson. Yeah, I was very sad when I heard that. I don't know if it's still true about him. But who is the guy? What's the name of the guy? You know who I'm talking about. The guy who really started the whole right-wing fundamentalist, racialist, folkish heathen, I forget his name. He was one of the original founders of all that way back in the late 60s and early 70s. But it's another frustrating thing for me, and I won't go off on it, but it does frustrate me that there are so many people that come onto my channel whose, it seems to me, their primary motivation for reading the lore and worshiping the northern gods is because they want to bolster their own racial and political views, which happen to be about exclusion and insecurity and various forms of it's a sliding scale, but there's all kinds of racism and racialism rampant throughout it, and it's frustrating to me that people use the lore. They don't see that they don't start, perhaps they don't, I could be wrong, but at least on some level on some level, they're not coming from a deep desire to worship the gods. They're coming from a desire to project onto the world, look at me, here I am, I'm this. Their own insecurity about their own uniqueness, and to me that's sad. He's one of those people. I forget the guy's name. You know who I'm talking about. But he's one of those people that just clearly does that. And I think it's a tragedy. I think it's a travesty and a tragedy. But everybody's got to start somewhere. So, infants have to, people have to start in their infancy. And I think that's what that represents. Let's see here. Lars Christensen asked a question, says, can you elaborate on the internal conflict that can drive us to think we are seeking our roots and how that ties in with the history of the Germanic tribes? Oh, interesting. I just started launching into it. So the internal conflict that can drive us, well, sounds like you're talking about your internal conflict. So I'd like to know more about that. But let's see here. Can you elaborate on the internal conflict that can drive us to think we are seeking our roots and how that ties in with the history of the Germanic tribes? All right. So I'll try and answer your question that I think that you're asking me. So understand, again, here's an assumption I'm giving you. I'm giving you an assumption. You can get rid of it later if you want. Bear in mind that all true discussion has to start from a shared understanding of a base assumption. And a lot of people come on my channel who haven't watched my videos and they want to throw something out and they want to get into some discussion with me. And at some point I have to say, we're operating from different assumptions here. We're never going to get anywhere. So I'm going to back out of this discussion. So the assumption that I would like for you to share with me for the moment is that the way that our ancestors dealt with everything, including religion and the gods, the nature of the universe, was very different from what it is now. And that no matter who you are, no matter whether you grew up in a religious home or in a non-religious home, a secular home, it doesn't matter. Our Western culture has been created from the Abrahamic religious mindset. And the Abrahamic religious mindset, by the way, was very anti-sacredness. I'm sorry for my poor grammar here. And that's why, by the way, why modern science always seeks to de-spiritualize anything. They always want to, except for physics, which can't help it. Physics is the only science that says, man, there's something here that goes beyond, and talks about how our intentions create our reality, and that reality is a three-dimensional projection, and it seems to point to some other spiritual thing that we can't seem to put our fingers on. Every other science wants to despiritualize it. Now, on the one hand, I respect that because the Bible is a nonsensical, ridiculous book that says all kinds of stupid things that are very, that go against the ability to look at things objectively. So, point I'm trying to make is that this culture that we live in is coming from that Abrahamic mindset. And just because you decide that you want to become a heathen again and you want to worship the gods, that decision in and of itself is not going to give you the ability to understand what you're reading. You are going to, without even meaning to, you are going to project onto it whatever filter you've been programmed to think through. And so the troth, the troth forbidding people to worship Loki is a perfect example. That's a very Abrahamic, thou shalt not, our ancestors did not think like that. A good way to look at that is when you look at fairy tales. Fairy tales are the last vestige of mythology. Even though a lot of them were written during the Middle Ages and the late Middle Ages and all that, they still represented that early mindset. And in those early fairy tales, the older fairy tales, you have things like the wicked witch and the good witch, which means that our ancestors didn't ascribe righteousness to spiritual power because there wasn't this separation between righteous and unrighteous. There was just the universe. And the universe was made up of differing energies and powers and beings. And, some of them were mean and some of them were nice and some of them were scary and some of them were powerful and some of them were powerful and good and some of them were powerful and evil and, or destructive. And, like the giants. The giants are seen as being anti-human. And it's not because they're evil. It's just because they're different. It's like us. I mean, we eat animals. And unless you're a vegetarian, which I'm not, or a vegan, which I'm not, but and even then, you take it down. It's been proven that plants have feelings. Even a blade of grass has feelings, and if there's been some scientific experiments, to my knowledge, anyway. Who knows if it's true or not? But I believe it. That you measure a plant, and all you have to do is be on the other side of the room and think, I'm going to burn that plant. And the plant starts freaking out. All these changes happen in direct response to the thoughts and intentions of the people in the room. So everything, there isn't any living being on the planet that doesn't take any kind of nourishment from something living. So fish and chicken. Chicken are scared to hell. It must be scared to death of me because I eat a lot of chicken. But I also know that if you raise a chicken as a chick from a chick and, it could become your pet. It'll love you. You can have a relationship and connect with it. And, like we do with dogs. The reason why we don't eat dogs in this country is because we see dogs as being our friends. But, if we're in the wrong place at the wrong time, a grizzly bear or a mountain lion, they could give a crap about us and our lives. And it's nothing personal. They need food. So our ancestors saw the universe this way. There were all these different kinds of beings. There were gods, and there were the celestial gods and the terrestrial gods, the Aesir, the Vanir. There was different levels of spirits. There were the elves. There were the black elves and the light elves, and none of them were good. Or there was just all these different. We were just one being in this community of all these different beings. And so they didn't have the same value system as we put onto it now. So to get back to your question, Lars, the conflict that can drive us to think we are seeking our roots, everything is a projection. So if somebody comes out of Western society, and especially if especially conservatives, there's really very little difference. Forgive me for saying it, but there's very little difference between a conservative Asatru and a conservative Christian. One person explained it to me very well, because when I first started researching the gods of and I was having all these experiences, Odin and Thor and all these deities from my ancestral past are communicating with me, and I'm looking for a community because I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on here. Even though I've been doing all this stuff, it was really kind of traumatic for me. And I wanted to have a community of people that I could relate to. And I started reaching out. I said, oh, these people called heathens. Oh, and they worship. Oh, my God, I'm not the only one doing it. Oh, wow. So I started reaching out to them, and I got slammed. And they just tore me a new one. They treated me worse than anybody. They treated me worse than the Christians did. It was just like, whoa, what the hell's going on here? What's wrong with you guys? And it's because, I was coming from a completely different background. This is what has shown me this, is because in order for me to learn Taoist mysticism, African mysticism, Vedic mysticism, which I spent years and years doing before I even started connecting with the gods of my ancestors. In order to do that, I had to have my Abrahamic mindset completely obliterated. And it was very frightening. Because, you know, as a born again Christian, you're taught that any experience you have that doesn't confess Jesus Christ as Lord is of the devil. And so they don't deny that there aren't powerful religions out there. In fact, they will probably say to you that, you know, any spiritual, you should not have a spiritual experience because that's not how Jehovah works anymore. He did in the past, but he doesn't do it anymore. And if you have that, you're probably being deceived by the devil, especially if it doesn't confess Jesus. And so you start to expect that any spiritual experience is going to be demonic. And so even though I had consciously rejected Christianity, that programming was still there. And I started doing Taoist mysticism and spirit fighting, and the power that was coming through my body and the experiences scared the crap out of me. I was expecting the devil to show up and laugh, "Mwahaha, I own your soul." Of course, that never happened. I healed. I started to heal.
Hi, I'm Michael Denny of SpiritTao.com, and this is Celestial Negong Part 1. Celestial Negong means that this is power that is descending from heaven. And the idea is that we are all microcosms of the entire universe. You are the entire universe, and everything around you is simply the projection. You are looking within yourself. So when you look up into the stars at night, you're actually looking deep within your own body. When you look at the sun, the moon, the trees, the flowers, you're looking within yourself. This is Negong. And so what we're doing is we're simply releasing that infinity from within us. You are tapping into and releasing the power that is within our own body, our own cells, our own organs. So one of the reasons that I'm making this DVD is in the hope that the essence and the spirit of the teaching of the Shang-Ching arts can be taught to the world at large, and it is my hope that the core essence of what the Shang-Ching tradition is will continue to live and grow and evolve. As we move on into the Aquarian age, everything is changing. I don't need to tell you that. The entire world is changing, and what we are seeing now is that if people hold on to external things, they are very challenged in life. And those who are making the transition into the next phase that we are moving into in the world as we approach 2012, those who look within and find their source of strength from within, those are the people who are getting the most out of life and will make the transition into the next phase of evolution most comfortably. It is my belief that the Shang-Ching tradition is one method whereby human beings can evolve into the next level of being in the most comfortable fashion and be able to take advantage of the rapid, energetic, mental, and spiritual changes that are going on in the world today.
I started to heal from the guilt. I started to heal from the, the torture and the shame and, all of that. And then I started finding out what true spirituality really was about. And I started really connecting to infinity and having all kinds of experiences and leaving my body and being able to do things that, that went against the laws of physics and all that kind of stuff. And wow, totally opened me up to all that. So I did, I went through all of that experientially and then started reading the mythology of these other. This is, again, why in my books I talk about, you want to seek a spiritual path that has an unbroken connection into prehistory. Neo-heathenism does not have that. Neo-heathenism is completely, especially when you're throwing in this brand new crap, about the 9 noble virtues. There's nothing wrong with the 9 noble virtues again, but it's just feeding to the mindset that needs to have the 10 commandments. And the mindset that says, we are the troth, you can't worship Loki. Here are the commandments that you must do in order to be part of our, I mean, our ancestors didn't have that. If you, especially in Germania, the tribal Germanics, if you walked into some village in the middle of some forest surrounded by swamps and, you know, all kinds of crazy forests everywhere, if you walk in there and start asking, what are the rules of the religion, they're going to look like, what are you talking about? This is just the gods. That guy does all kinds of weird stuff. He worships Loki over there. We try and stay away from him, but you can't tell people what to do or what not to do. Oh yeah, there's a wizard out over there, and he works with so and so, and we got the priest over here that does that, and go talk to him. He's safe. Watch out for that guy. He's really powerful. But if you really want to learn, there isn't this right or wrong, good or bad. There's just different things out there. So anytime that somebody wants to talk about, when they're talking about their ancestors in such a way that there's that exclusive, you can't be this and you can't be part of that and you're wrong. And, look, I'm not into Wicca. I'm open to the idea. Actually, on paper, I love the idea of Wicca and the masculine and the feminine and all that, and I'm totally open to that. I don't know everything there is to know. I haven't been with hardly any Wiccans whatsoever. My brief experience with the few Wiccans that I have gone and experienced was that it was Fantasyland, that they were chilled, they weren't really doing anything of any real value, or that was my experience of it. But I'm not going to sit there and judge them and call them horrible and evil and make a war with them like I see the neo-heathens do. They want to go against everybody. They went that way against me. So what is the conflict within us that makes us think we are seeking our roots? This is, you get there however you get there, whatever gets you in the door, which is why I say everybody's got to start from somewhere, even if they're, even if they're coming from an infantile place. So a lot of the neo-heathens, in my experience, are emotionally immature. And they have personal insecurities, and they don't think very deeply, and they like rules, and they like to have an exclusive club, and they like to carry their guns and do all that stupid shit. I heard about one guy, neo-heathen, who was very upset because he was told that he couldn't bring his gun into, a bloat. And he said, yeah, but, and he quoted one verse from one of the myths about don't have your weapon more than an arm's length away. And we had to, well, not me, but somebody had to explain to him the context of that. But he also had to learn that our ancestors had a very strong tradition of you don't bring weapons into the temple. And you don't bring weapons to peace meetings. But this guy was just so into having his gun, and he thought having a gun and shooting a gun was so much part of his ancestral religious tradition that why aren't they letting, that tiny mindset, the tiny little, infantile mindset that goes with that is very much coming directly from fundamentalist Christianity. That's a fundamentalist Christian mindset. And you just take that and you decide that you don't want to, that you want to worship the gods of your ancestors, and so you paste that on top of your Abrahamic fundamentalist viewpoint. I don't think I finished what I was saying earlier, but somebody described to me, because I was so hurt by why are these people attacking me like this? Why are they treating me like I'm such a piece of crap? Somebody said, because you represent something so very different to their mindset. And most of these people, he said, this is another person talking, I don't know how true this is, but said most of these people are born-again Christians who want to drink, smoke, and have premarital sex. Everything else, they want to be the same. They want to have all the same prejudices and all the same, whatever, but they want to just, drink and fuck and smoke and not feel guilty about it. They still want to be racist and, whatever, prejudice against, different sexual lifestyles. They want to be able to do what they want. And actually they gravitate towards that, because then they can get rid of the forgiveness part, they can get rid of the love your neighbor as yourself part, and go into the, the more of the fuck you, this is my thing and we're better than you sort of thing. Again, that's an extreme example. I'm not trying to put that on top of anybody, but since we're talking about Loki, I think this is Loki wanting to, share some truth here. One of the things that Loki does is he really goes out of his way to reveal to the gods, these celestial deities, their right-wing, their conservative mindset when it limits them. He goes out of his way to do this, which is probably why, the right-wing conservative neo-heathens don't like Loki. Because Loki's going to come in, and whenever you start to lay down rules about this, that, especially that ones that exclude you from other people or exclude people from you, he's going to come and blow that up. I'll share another story about Loki. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it. I've written about it. I heard this from a neo-heathen that I was friends with when I was living in Idaho. She and her husband, no, her husband wasn't into it, but she was deep into Asatru and neo-heathenism and all that stuff. And I was talking about Loki, and I was talking about how much I liked Loki, and without Loki we wouldn't have any of this stuff. And she shared a story about that there was a kindred, Asatru kindred, that had a rule that you couldn't say Loki's name. Couldn't even say his name. And so there was a bunch of them in a park, and they're standing around in a circle. And one of them says, "Oh, fuck it, Loki." And it says Loki. And out of the bushes runs a skunk, and the skunk gets in the middle of them and sprays them all and then runs out. And she said, and that they used that to as justification, saying, "See, Loki is evil." And it's like, well, if Loki is evil, it would have been a rattlesnake came and bit a baby or something. But all it was a skunk, spraying you. He was, and the rest of us can laugh at you, but you're the one walking away saying Loki is evil. Clearly, he's not that evil. He's just, that's just Loki. And the thing about Loki is that Loki will respond to you. This is why it's so important if in my experience, in my opinion, if you want to connect with Loki, and listen, if you're not ready to connect with Loki, then don't. I'm not going to, listen, know what you're dealing with here. But if you're not prepared to be completely honest and let your guard down and, sit in your own shit, and smell your own farts. If you're not willing to do that, then maybe talking to Loki isn't the wisest thing to do, because he's going to reflect back to you what you bring to him. And if you bring hypocrisy, especially if you knowingly bring hypocrisy, and what that mindset, to me, it represented fear. It absolutely represented fear of knowing yourself. And that is my experience with conservative, extreme conservative of all kinds, whether it's, it's so fun, the fundamentalist Christians hate the fundamentalist Islamics. And when you strip away their God, if you strip away Allah and you strip away, Jehovah, you got the same shit there. Doing the same shit. To varying degrees. They're operating, they're vibrating on the same level. They just got different hats on. So whatever you bring to Loki, if you're not willing to really be yourself and ruthlessly look at yourself, it's not a if, and, or but, he will reflect back to you so that you get to experience it. You'll get to experience your hypocrisy. And you can either learn from it, or like many people, like the example I just gave, use it as a justification to bolster your fear and your exclusion and whatever else. But that's the way Loki is. Loki is a god of experience. And the wisdom that you get from Loki is the school of hard knocks. You know, if you want to go touch a hot stove and somebody told you not to touch it, and you think, oh, I'm going to go touch it anyway, Loki will say, yeah, go touch it. Here, I'll walk you over there. Go here. Let me put your hand right there. There's the hottest part. Go ahead, touch it. He's not going to talk you out of it. He's going to say, no, go do it. Because that's the only way you're going to learn. People blame Loki. Loki told me to touch a hot flame. He was just telling you to do what you wanted to do. You want to touch a hot flame, go touch it. I want you to experience that. I want you to learn from it. It's okay with me if you hurt yourself. You won't do it again. You know, the other thing about Loki is that Loki realizes that you have the power to make the decision to evolve. Everybody has that power. And he's really only going to be a problem to people who are resisting the evolution that they internally want. When they operate from fear, from childishness, Loki's going to be the first one to jump in and help you paint your illusion so that you can step in your own trap. You know, he will. If what you want is to, you know, do something addictive and destructive, and you know, part of you knows that that's going to be unhelpful, and he sees that you're dedicated, he's going to help you. Oh, let me help you with that. I know there's a drug dealer down the street here. Want me to call? Here's his number. Give him a call. Yeah, no, totally, man. You're gonna see the universe in a new way, and you know, he is going to deceive you in that way. He is a trickster, but he is the only one that has the right to do it because he's the one that's willing to do whatever it takes. You know, the way that I see the myth of Loki being strapped down in the cave and being hit with the viper's venom, that was something he chose to do. He's willing to sacrifice that in order for your awareness. He's willing to do the thing that, you know, I don't see him as this maniacal, crazy person coming in and laughing, you know, as he brings Ragnarok. I see him as a surgeon. It's like, this has to be done. Let's go do it. Okay, guys, you ready? Let's go. You know, if there's somebody that I see that is mischievous, it's Odin. My experience of Odin is not that he's this stern, angry guy. He's got this mischievous laugh going on all the time because he doesn't take himself seriously. He doesn't take the world seriously. And Odin and Loki are the flip side of each other. So even though Loki is the one that is seen as the trickster, and maybe he does laugh, but it's sort of like, you know, he may come across as kind of with an insane laugh, but it's coming from a knowing. You know, like when you see something, you know, a deep truth, and it's just so, you just laugh like an insane person. That's that crazy wisdom. But Odin is the one with the mischievous little, he's the one, I see him very mischievous. So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but those were the thoughts that came to my mind. Oh, okay. So they had a 10-year like that. Well, where do they come up with an arbitrary number like 10 years? We're gonna what is that? Where do you come up with that? I don't know. All right. Mukund Kashyap question: have you ever practiced the Kunlun Maoshan system? If so, is celestial qigong meant to be an improvement over it? Well, I don't talk about other teachers like that, but I will tell you that I am familiar with that system. I am familiar with the guy. I know the guy who created it. I can't say that I practiced it in the sense of I practiced it really deeply. I am familiar with it, and I did experience some of it. Celestial Qigong is not meant to be an improvement on Kunlun. Celestial Qigong is something that I came up with on my own, and it does have connections to that system. But they're not related. I mean, you know, I'm hesitating because I don't want to talk about somebody without their permission, but the short answer is that Celestial Qigong is not Kunlun. It is not derived from Kunlun. It is not meant to be a replacement or an improvement. It's related to it, and it's completely different. That's the most that I'll publicly say about that. Yeah, McNallen, that's the guy who I'm talking about. Brian Easterday, question. Can you speak about the difference between prayer as used in Christianity compared to sacrifice as practiced in animist beliefs as a way of achieving our goals? I would love to talk about that. That is something that I've written about. If you haven't, go and read my books. Go to michaelwilliamdenny.com or go to courses.thunderwizard.com and start reading my books. I talk a lot about that, especially, I think in the first one, I can't remember, but I talk a lot about the difference between that. It's getting chilly in here. I forgot to put, here, I'll get all priesty on you here. I forgot to put on my, turn on my heater. All right, so prayer, you know, I personally find prayer kind of useless. Not completely, but I do find prayer just simply kind of useless because, you know, getting on your knees and asking, oh God, give me this, and oh God, give me that, and oh so-and-so give me this, and oh so-and-so give me that. It again starts from a base assumption. The base assumption is that you have no power. And I'm giving you a completely different assumption, which is that everything is your own creation. Therefore, you're more powerful than Jehovah. You're more powerful than God. And, you know, as I am starting to unroll in the various things on the, you know, the different websites, the thunderwizard.com and the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel and all of that, I'm starting to teach people that, listen, you are the one that creates everything. And as long as you understand the laws of how it works, and if you understand who you are and, you know, your true nature, that combined with your ability to become aware of your unconscious, all of this stuff put together, then you are the one that makes things happen. So for me, going and, oh God, please give me that, is the universe goes, I don't know what to do with that. I'm here to follow your direction, and here you are asking me to give you something. It's like, I don't get it. You're the one that does it. I'm here to go create what you want. Why are you, you know, it just kind of, I think it just kind of puts everything on pause. Nothing really wants to function like that. So sacrifice, the assumption of sacrifice is that everything is energy. And if you have an exchange of energy, that will get things moving. So you are a spiritual seeker, a spiritual practitioner, and you want to work from home, you want to work for yourself, and like me, you want to make money doing something that you would do anyway. I have two avenues for you to make money doing what you would do anyway. The first is astrologycertification.thunderwizard.com. You can learn my specific, very unique niche of Vedic astrology, and then if you become certified, I will put you on the astrology.thunderwizard.com page, and people will see your beautiful face. They'll click on you and they can get a reading from you. Like I said, this is easily the most profitable service that I have in my arsenal for myself. Then you'll get your own webpage, joeschmo.thunderwizard.com, and people can go there when you want to give out readings. Now, if you have other things that you want to list on there too, you dog sit, you are a masseuse, you do tarot readings, I don't care what it is. As long as you give me the information, I'll put it on your page. People go to joeschmo.thunderwizard.com. They can see everything that you do. There's another way that you can make money as a thunderwizard.com student, and that is runereadings.thunderwizard.com. Same thing applies there. If you become certified, there's over 36 hours of rune videos that I have on there. All of my rune videos, both public and private, that you can learn from. If you become certified, then I will put you on the
runereadings.thunderwizard.com page, and once again, you will get your own page, joeschmo.thunderwizard.com. If you're already an astrologer, you'll have your astrology information, your rune reading information, whatever other things that you want to promote for yourself. Listen, I am not here just to sit here and teach. I'm here to create teachers, and I'm here to teach people who are called to do so to make a good living, sharing the information that they would study on their own anyway. That's how I make my living. I can teach you how to do that. These are two ways to do it. So if you want to get started with that, go to astrologycertification.thunderwizard.com if you want to become an astrologer. If you want to become a rune reader, go to runecertification.thunderwizard.com. Okay, enjoy the video.
And so let's again go back to, animal sacrifice and blood sacrifice. This was a big deal for a reason. Because, and I'm going to cut to what this really means. Okay, what this really means is, let me see if I can put this into words. Animal sacrifice, blood sacrifice, it intrinsically does what I'm about to describe. But if you're able to see it as just a symbol of the real interaction that's happening, you can just cut to the chase and go to the real interaction. You don't have to actually sacrifice an animal. Let's go back into time, especially those tribal Germanic people that lived, that were, seen as being as primitive as we see, uncontacted tribes in the Amazon. Food is very valuable, and animals are very valuable. And if you are just coming out of the hunter-gatherer and going into the, the farmer route, where you grow your own crops and you raise your own animals, if the tribal Germanics were as primitive as they're portrayed as being, then animals to them, if they had sheep or cows or goats or whatever, that would have been extremely valuable. We already know that from the language, because the word fee is fehu, which means cow. It means that they paid people with livestock. That's what if you wanted to buy something of a lot of value, you gave somebody livestock. That was money. You didn't have to go to a bank. You could just, be riding your horse past somebody's home, and if they had a bunch of livestock in the pen back there, it's like, wow, that guy's rich. His bank, is sitting right there next to his house. You don't have to go to the bank and find out how much money he's got in the bank. You can just ride past him and go, wow, that guy's got a lot of money. Look at all those cows. Oh, that guy's only got 2 cows. So if you have an animal, it's very valuable. And when you slaughter an animal, that's a huge expense. So whenever there's like a feast, if there's going to be a feast with a celebration, and they're going to, slaughter a lamb that's a big deal. It's like, wow, they're slaughtering something because of what, the marriage or something like that. Somebody's getting married. Wow, and they're slaughtering a cow. Wow, that's going to be a big shindig. I got invited to go there, and you get to go eat somebody's cow. It's like somebody handing you, $500. It's really meant a lot. So the understanding was that exchange of energy. If you want something from the universe, you want a harvest, you want glory, you want power, you want success, you want martial fame, you want whatever it is that you want from the gods, you understand that it's going to take energy for whatever that is. That energy, that the law of energy creates everything. And when you sacrifice an animal, that is it's not just a sacrifice. Like the word doesn't mean anything when we say sacrifice an animal. If I go to the store and get a side of beef and throw it on a barbecue, that's not a sacrifice, because it didn't really cost me all that much, because getting, animal flesh is very inexpensive now. I mean, that's the easiest thing to get. Back then, that was one of the hardest things to get. Arnold Schwarzenegger was talking about when he was a kid, and right after World War II, and he said he didn't have a lot of meat, that they only ate meat like once a week. And that's kind of reflective of what it was like. I mean, somebody who's eating, steak every day in that tribal environment is somebody who's just insanely rich. You had if you were able to slaughter an animal once a week, that's why our ancestors ate so much cheese, because they had to get protein from somewhere. Milk and cheese was, a really, a great way to have protein without having to destroy your bank. But once you kill that cow, you're getting rid of the milk, you're getting rid of the cheese. I mean, it's a big fucking deal. So when you make the sacrifice to whatever God that you understand that you are giving away something, you are committing to something, and there's no going back. If you have 3 cows and you sacrifice one of them, that is an action you cannot take back. You don't know when you're going to be able to afford to get another cow. It's a big deal. Potentially, you might starve yourself. It's a huge deal. And when you had a sacrifice, you invited everybody to participate. Because when you gave, because you would sacrifice the animal and the blood sacrifice and do the ritual and whatever, and that goes to the gods, then you have all this meat. And you give the meat to everybody. You invite people and you give them, and it would be a big deal for them too. Because it was like, oh my God, so-and-so's having a sacrificial dinner, and he's sacrificing one of his cows. Oh my God, I haven't eaten a steak and geez, it's been a couple of months. Oh, this is going to be great. It's a big deal for everybody. So you're giving away also to the whole village. Everybody in the village is participating from your sacrifice, which means everybody in the village is then going to take their intention and put it toward you. And you say, I want to be this, or whatever it is that you want. You state publicly what it is that you want. Everybody in the village, because you are giving them, whatever it is, steak, they are so grateful to you, and you are part of them, and they want you to have that. And you're going to have their gratitude. See what I mean? So all of this then creates a connection with the gods, who then are doing nothing more than responding to your intention and giving you the energy to make it happen. The luck. From that, you want to go, then you're going to become chieftain of the whole tribe, and you're going to conquer those people. And, but the other thing is that you're willing to die to get it. The other part of sacrifice is that you make a commitment. It's not just like you're saying, oh, Odin, please give me success. It's not a prayer. The sacrifice is the physical action that says, I like this cow, am willing to die for what I want. And Odin, I give this to you, and I ask for your blessing. Blessing comes from the word blood. I ask for, when the priest would take the little sprig of evergreen and take the blood from the sacrifice and flick it on people. Blessing means to take the blood of the animal and be splattered with blood. Blessing means to be splattered with blood. So when Christians walk around saying, "Oh, it's God's blessing. What a blessing! You're such a blessing," flash to what that meant. Some pagan guy going and splattering blood on you from an animal that's still it's still in the death throes as you take the warm, hot blood and you splatter it on somebody's face. It meant something. Prayer doesn't mean anything. It doesn't cost anything to get on your knees and ask Jesus, please, Jesus, help me with the rent this week, and I'll love you forever. It costs nothing. And the universe looks at you and goes, what is that? What is that? But when you make a sacrifice, you understand, it was understood that not only were you willing to put yourself out there, because you're taking away, you're giving up something of tremendous value to you. You are sharing it freely with everything and everybody around you. You're giving it to the gods. You're also saying, like that animal, I'm going to die for what I want. I'm going to go after that, and if I don't get it, I'm going to die trying, and I will be proud to die going after what I want. I mean, somebody, when they make a sacrifice, there's a lot of thought that goes into that, because that means they really have to get themselves into the awareness of, yep, if I don't get this, I may die. And if I have to die in order to get what I want, then that's what it takes. And so people who came to the sacrifice knew that you had that kind of a mindset about it. And it meant a lot more, especially if it cost you a lot more. You know, for somebody who was really, really rich and had a bunch of cows or whatever, maybe it wasn't that big of a deal. But if you only have a few cows, man, it's a big fucking deal to sacrifice one of those things. So as I said earlier, if you can get to what it means is that you will have to do that. You cannot, you know, if you're going to be following the manifestation course, at some point we're going to be talking about this. In order to intend your reality, you also have to be willing to back that up with your whole life. And that was understood. Our ancestors understood that. So if you came to them with the law of attraction and said, what you focus on is what you get, they'd say, oh yeah, totally. That's absolutely right. But if you told them, if you just sit on the edge of your bed and think good thoughts and good things will happen to you, they'll look at you like, what the fuck are you talking about? Life doesn't work like that. But the magic can happen, and your commitment, your willingness to sacrifice is what makes it happen. So when it comes to prayer, you want something from the universe. The way that you show the universe is that you follow with your actions, that you are willing to die for what you want. And then the universe responds. And then things really start to go crazy. You start to see things that are beyond possible. So it may sound like I'm saying, you know, that I'm minimizing all of this and saying, well, if you just work hard. It's not what I'm saying. Because there are plenty of people that work their ass off and get nothing for it. What I'm talking about is something a little different, which, anyway, I don't want to go any deeper than that, but there you go. All right, let's see here. Hopefully I answered your question. Dean Nevins, my Atma Karaka is Rahu. How do you suggest I connect with Loki so I can reprogram my unconscious mind? So when Rahu is your Atma Karaka, it means that the first thing you need to do is be truthful in all of your speech and all of your interactions. In all of your dealings, you have to be truthful. You have to be truthful, you have to be honest. Because that means as your Atma Karaka, Rahu is watching. So it sounds like I'm talking about, you know, Santa Claus. Santa Claus is watching. Rahu is watching, and he will deceive you if you are not completely honest in all of your doings. The other thing is that you may be easily deceived, or you may be naive. So that means that Rahu is going to come to you and appeal to your selfishness, to your greed, from your fear-based desires. And he's going to try and seduce you so that you will again learn the lesson. But he's also testing you, or allowing you to test yourself to see how real you can be with yourself about what you want. Okay? He will do that. So with your Atma Karaka as Rahu, your life strategy is, when you wake up in the morning, I want to make sure that I am truthful and honest in all of my interactions, and that I am vigilant on myself to see that I don't seek things out of my own greed or my own fear. Bear in mind, I'm not saying don't go after things that you want. Be selfish. I'm not saying not to be selfish. Be as selfish as you want, because this is what we're here to do. But you see, I just say the word selfish and it already has a negative connotation. It only has a negative connotation if that selfishness is combined with any kind of deception or any kind of taking advantage of others or not doing your fair share or any of that kind of stuff. Then when that happens within you, Rahu's going to be there. Loki's going to be there. So the same thing applies to you. With Loki as your Atmakaraka, the way to worship him is to go to him with no armor on. And of course, we all have things that we're hiding and, things on the unconscious. So just do the best that you can to consciously go before him and say, I'm going to try and be as honest with you as I am. This is where I think I'm at. This is what's going on with me. And say, I may have some unconscious stuff going on that I'm not aware of. Please don't hold that against me. I'm doing my best here. And just let it out. Let that experience with him bring you down to learn even more, so that you can become conscious of your fears, conscious of feeling, insecure, feeling unloved, feeling, all of those feelings of lack. Experience them and confess them to him like you would to a friend. It's not like you're going to a priest and saying, oh, I'm a horrible person. It's like when you go to a friend and you go, have you ever done that thing? I don't want to tell, don't tell this to other people, but have you ever done that thing where you looked at a girl and you thought, man, I really wish to her, and you're not really looking at her as a person, but as an object. Have you ever done that? I did that today and I didn't feel too good about it. I just want to be honest with you. I can't help it. It's just part of my, that kind of thinking. That kind of talking is the kind that Rahu enjoys and Loki enjoys, because then the deepest desire of Rahu and Loki is to help you to become conscious, and you can't become conscious until you admit to yourself all of the stuff in your unconscious mind, until you become conscious of your own true. For instance, let's just take the example I just said. Let's just say somebody comes to the realization that he objectifies women and he sees women as sexual objects. Now, a lot of that is biological, maybe he's got his own, but a lot of that you just can't help. You got, men especially have, I don't even know how many millions of sperm are being produced every second. Everything in their body is telling them to go procreate. That's just the way we're made up. So part of it he can't help. But if he can be honest with himself and be able to analyze that, then he can be around women and still be looking at them consciously aware of, oh my God, I'm totally objectifying that woman. I see her just as a sexual object. But you'll have the ability to take action in the way that that is deserving. Now, let me give you an example. I learned really early on. I became really aware of exactly what I'm just talking about. Like, at the beach. Be at the beach and some girl comes walking by in a bikini, and I can't help but look at their, what I enjoy about their body. I learned really quick that you can't, if you're with a woman, you can't do that. It's offensive to them. It hurts their feelings when you're looking at somebody else. And they, whatever. So I learned really quick in my late teens and early 20s that if I was with a girl, even if she was just my friend, and I could see out of the corner of my eye some hot-looking chick walking down, I did everything in my power to keep my eyes locked on her. And I went out of my way to treat her with respect and not treat her like an object. Even if I wanted to treat her, as an object, I went out of my way not to. And I treated her with respect. And so I got a reputation that women were safe around me, because they were. Even though I had all those same feelings that idiot guy who's half drunk walking around saying stupid shit and getting in women's faces and who knows what else he's doing. Even though I have those same feelings as that guy, I'm not acting on that because I'm aware. But if you're not aware of it, if you're not aware of what's going on with you, like, I got to tell you, most guys, if they're out on a date with you, ladies, and they're looking at other women, they have no idea they just did that. They just have no clue, because they're not aware of what's going on underneath the surface. Okay? So I hope I answered your question there. Stephen Purdy, question: how would you advise me if I want to learn Loki's tricks to teach people how to overcome them? I'm hesitating because you've got some unconscious stuff in that question. How would you advise me if I want to learn Loki's tricks to teach people how to overcome them? So you have an assumption there. You're seeing Loki as the enemy. And so understand that your base assumption is coming from fear and insecurity. He's going to kick your ass. He is going to wipe the floor with you. If your goal is to learn his tricks, first off, do you really honestly think that you're going to learn his tricks? He's a trickster. He is the trickster. Do you honestly think you're going to be able to understand his tricks? Especially if your goal here is to teach people how to overcome them. That is a projection. What you're really saying is that you're afraid that Loki is going to trick you, and you want to teach yourself so that you can overcome his tricks. This isn't about teaching other people. So let's just, you may consciously be thinking that, but I'm telling you, with all the love in my heart, you're full of shit. This is about you. You want to overcome him because you're afraid he's going to trick you. And what I've been saying is that you don't need to worry about that. He is far more interested in your well-being than you are. And the only reason he would ever trick you is if he saw that you were in denial of yourself. So if you want to overcome his tricks, get over your own denial. Whatever you are in denial about with yourself, based on your fears. Like I just gave you a great example. Because I've known guys, really sleazy guys, or guys that really use women and throw them to, just treat them like shit. They will till the end of the world, no, I really love them. No, it's just that, connecting with them and all that, and I bring out, and and no, I'm not going to marry her or anything, but I really, I want to awaken her so that she can, they come up with all kinds of bullshit justifications. If they could just get honest and go, yeah, I really want to bang that chick, and she's really hot. Maybe that's what she wants to, and then you'll both be okay. But instead, they look for the victims. They look for the weak ones, and then they bullshit them, and then they use them and throw them away. They're not aware. They honestly, consciously think that they love women, but unconsciously they don't love them. They hate them. They've got anger. They feel unlovable. All kinds of. So when you're able to become conscious of all that, you don't have to worry about Loki. Loki's not going to trick you if you're conscious. But if you think that you're going to figure out his tricks so that you can teach other people how to avoid their own consciousness, Loki is more than happy. If you want to go be my guest, please go talk to him and tell him that that's what you want. And then enjoy the interesting life you're going to have. Because Loki is going to make mincemeat out of you. Now, your question is coming from a false assumption. You're still seeing Loki as the enemy. You're still afraid of him. You're afraid Loki's never going to trick you in any way that isn't designed to help you become conscious. He's not interested in making fun of you. In fact, he's the last person to do that. In fact, if you know from the myth of where Balder goes to the underworld, he was infuriated. He was infuriated that the gods were treating Balder like a party favor. They're drinking and they're going, hey, watch this. Hey, watch, I'm going to throw a thunderbolt at him. Hey, throw a spear at him. Hey, throw a beer bottle at his head and see what happens. Oh, look at that. Ah! It didn't bother him. This infuriated Loki. It infuriated him because he loved Balder. And to see Balder being treated like that infuriated him. That's why he created that whole deception using the using the thorn and all that stuff. That's why he did that. So if you're not, if you don't have to worry about that, then you got nothing to worry about from Loki. I'm telling you, he's your best friend. When you can overcome your own temptation, when you can overcome your own temptation to sabotage yourself, when you can overcome that, even if Loki's the one that kind of pushes the button, says, what about that? Wouldn't that be fun? What about that? When you can overcome it and he sees that, he's going to go, I'm so glad. I knew you could do it. Let me show you now. Let me show you the secret of the universe. And he'll take you behind the scenes and will show it to you. So your whole approach here of wanting to learn Loki's tricks to help warn other people, you got it completely backwards. Loki wants to show you the truth of the universe. He's your best friend. And if you treat him like that, you'll never have to worry about him, ever. Okay. All right, I don't see any more questions here. So how long have we been on? We've been talking for a while now. I don't know exactly. Oh, yeah, an hour and 40 minutes, so without any breaks. So I'm going to call it an evening. So 3 things that I would like for you to do. I would like for you to go to, I'm pointing up here because when I put this back on, there'll be a link here. Right now there's not because it's live, but go to courses.thunderwizard.com and see everything that's there. If you haven't already, I strongly suggest, go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe. You got 2 options. You got more than 2 options, but you got 2 basic options. You can subscribe to get the shamanism course. I talk about all this in depth in the videos there. Shamanism on all levels, runes, energy work, ritual, the 9 worlds, the 5 elements, all that stuff. And then there's going to be now a new course which will be in that Patreon page, which is going to be the Mastery of Manifestation. And I'm going to talk to you about all this stuff we've touched on today. And I'm going to get to the root of all that. And you can subscribe at that level because there's going to be a lot of stuff I'm going to be uploading on that. Go, if you haven't already, and of course go to the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel and subscribe there because there's a ton of more videos that are going to be coming on there as well. What else? I can't think of anything else. If you want to understand where your Rahu is in your chart, then go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. And there's all my plugs for the business. So tomorrow, when the eclipse comes, hold all of this in your mind. You can either work directly with the light elves. If you're worried about Rahu or Loki, making mincemeat out of you, and I'm saying this in all honesty because listen, I'm not stupid. I don't, work with Loki all that often. Maybe I should trust him more, but I respect him enough that I don't go walking into his deal unless I'm really, and I can tell you right now where I'm at, I don't trust myself enough. I wouldn't go walking into his deal. But you can work safely with the light elves. So you can face northwest and talk to the light elves, and all you have to do is just ask, show me to be, what do I need to know to become more conscious? You can definitely use this time for an intention. If you have, if you want to change your financial status, you want to meet Mr. or Miss Right, you want to, whatever it is, you want to change something, you want to break a bad habit, if you want to just intend a much more successful life than yourself, this is going to be all about new beginnings. This eclipse is going to be the last chapter of some old karmic stuff that's going to get let go. And then this will start a new beginning on the plane of the moon. Okay? So you can be thinking about that. If you've got a mantra and a ritual, definitely do it because mantras and rituals and sacrifices and ceremonies during the eclipse will be magnified thousands of times. So like this is one of those times in the year or in many years, like this is going to be one of those nexus points. You don't want to miss that. If you're familiar with the ritual of the 9 knots, the spell of the 9 knots, that's the perfect time to do the spell of the 9 knots. Anyway, those are just some ideas to make use of this time tomorrow. So spend some time and spend some time, wanting to get to know yourself better, wanting to release. If you feel weird, if you're feeling fearful, anxious, if all, crappy feelings come up, go, oh, we must be getting close to a time of real power. It just means that the unconscious is starting to drift up, and don't take action on it. Put your desire to go, to slam heroin in your neck, or whatever it is, go to Vegas and spend all your money. Whenever you get a feeling like that, instead put it into your ritual. You can go to Vegas on Monday if you want, but Sunday you're going to spend that day focusing on your energy and focusing on your intentions and becoming aware of all the crappy stuff that comes up. Okay, that's my suggestion for how to get through this. All right, that's all for me. I'll see you guys soon. Happy solstice. Happy, what is it? Happy, I want to say apocalypse. Happy eclipse. Oh, by the way, please subscribe and click on the bell button so that you'll be notified every time that I have a video comes up. Also, go to this link here so that you can enjoy the live question and answer videos. If you want to learn about all my books and my DVDs, you want to find out all the courses that I teach, then go to courses.thunderwizard.com. If you think that I should stay on this channel, and if you think I should be telling the truth, if you think that I should stand up to these billionaire gurus who are trying to silence me from telling the truth, then I want you to go here, thunderwizard.com, and subscribe.